going on, everybody? Buck Rising out here at St. Thomas Sports Park, the Titans practice facility. Before the 4th through 7th rounds get ready to kick off, we're going to recap a couple of main takeaways that I've had about the Titans draft class through the first three. We're going to spend some time on your reaction. Controversy says, I'm here first. Indeed, you are welcome in to this Brymac broadcast presented by our friends, of course, at Brymac Mechanical. We're going to spend some time before the 4th round gets underway at 11 o'clock Central Time here in Nashville. Spend some time talking about what exactly to take away from the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft for the Titans. 4 selections, a trade back, now with 6 picks still remaining to go through in rounds 4 through 7. And I want to get your guys' reaction. I thought it would be a good chance to catch up, just you and me. Austin and Zach have done a great job on the draft coverage the past couple nights that we've done, but I thought we ought to spend a little quality time out here at the Titans practice facility. Before we get started, I want you guys to share this show around on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV. If you view with us on Periscope, you can do as I've just done. You can retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That's how we get things going there on Periscope. On Twitter, go ahead and retweet this show. If you're with us on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. It's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen from St. Thomas Sports Park. Plenty of Titans fans on Facebook. Get them involved in the action. If you're with us on YouTube or on Twitch like Stephen Crozio or Jarrett Wolf, you can share this show no matter how you want to share this show. You can tweet the link, you can text it to somebody, you can email it to somebody, you can do whatever you want with it. Just make sure that you share it with somebody out here so, at least I get something out of my Saturday before I have to work the rest of the day. Get to work the rest of the day because the NFL draft is a good time to be able to cover. And now that more of you are here, we can go ahead and begin this Brymac broadcast officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports live from St. Thomas Sports Park, the Titans practice facility. I'm Buck Rising, and I am proud as always to be presented to you by our friends at Brymac Mechanical. Satisfaction guaranteed on each and every one of your HVAC needs. That is what they offer you. BRYMAK, Brymac.com. They'll hook you up. All right, so what I want to do today is I want to get your reaction, one word, to describe the Titans' 4-man draft class so far. Remember, you added an additional pick because you traded out of 85 yesterday with a 92nd overall selection. You selected Monty Rice, the inside linebacker from Georgia. Now you have an additional pick today for a total of 10, assuming that they don't trade up, and which is not a safe assumption. It's entirely possible. John Robinson said yesterday in our Zoom availability with him after the 3rd round that they had looked at trading up yesterday, but they just couldn't get up to the place where they were looking for. Buck wants the quiet for a while. That's why he's out there, says El Boogie 808. It is nice. It's beautiful out here today at St. Thomas Sports Park. And yes, the weather is fine, and I would like a little quiet every once in a while. But, in order for there to be quiet, I would have to shut up. Give me one word to describe this Titans 4-man draft class so far in the comments on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. So let's run through them, right? 4 selections thus far for the Tennessee Titans, 4 players picked, and 3 on defense, 1 on offense. Now, not necessarily the position on offense that I think all of you would have liked for them to take. An offensive tackle in the 2nd round out of North Dakota State. So a very, very small sample size on film to be able to view. So you have Caleb Farley at 22nd overall. Then you go with Dylan Radins, is how his last name is pronounced, per Dylan himself, 53rd. You traded out of 85 to move back to 92 and pick up an additional selection, 135 today in the 4th round. And with that 92nd overall selection, you took Monty Rice, the inside linebacker out of Georgia. Additionally, Elijah Molden for a 2nd corner who can also play safety out of I'm blanking on where Elijah Molden was drafted out of. Hang on, let me look it up really quickly. Forgive me. I had in my head Georgia, but that's not right. That's Monty Rice. Washington is where Elijah Molden played last year in college. Forgive me for that, little bit of a brain fart. Here on A to Z Sports, not prime time, but the Brymac broadcast live from St. Thomas Sports Park. So those 4 players in the top 100 picks. Evan C. White said he was drafted out of his shit state. That's not nice. I hear Washington is beautiful. But now we have 6 picks to talk about for the Titans later on today. In the meantime, I want your one word to describe your selection or your 4 selections so far. I'll give you mine as well, and then I'll kind of explain my logic. But first, let's hear from you guys. Numbing, says Tyree Beatty. He is not thrilled with the idea of this. Evan C. White says, meh. Risky, according to Trevorus. Steven says cautious. Confusing, says Alex BN. Needs, says Trevor Kinslow. Content, says Michael Westbury. Isn't that the damn truth? Do you know I was excited? I can't tell you how excited I was to be able to watch the NFL draft on Friday or on Thursday night. And I'll be honest with you guys, I hate the draft. Like, the draft is one of my, or excuse me, I don't hate the draft itself. I hate the pre-draft. I hate the 2.5 months, maybe about a month and a half between free agency and the NFL draft, because you're just recycling the same talk, the same content over and over and over again. It drives me crazy. So I was so excited to have legitimate content to discuss when a selection was finally made on Thursday. El Boogie 808 says adequate. Big Mac says bullshit picks. Pitchforks, he says. Garrett Schneider says disappointing. Solid, according to Ron Lyman. Continue to comment your one word to describe the Titans' 4 selections so far. Remember, 5 more rounds today. 4 more rounds today and 6 more picks that the Titans have available, given that they picked up an additional 4th rounder courtesy of the Green Bay Packers. Let me know on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch your one word to describe this draft class. In the meantime, I will tell you about the people who present the Brymak broadcast. That's Brymak Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymak.com. They will hook you up on your HVAC needs. Now, the weather is beautiful today. You may have your windows open, but it's going to get hot soon. You want to make sure that your air conditioning is functioning at a high level. You want to make sure that if you have experienced, and if you've lost power, if you've lost air during the summer, you know what kind of suffering that can be. Protect yourself with preventative maintenance, courtesy of Brymak Mechanical. They can hook you up commercially if you own a business, or residentially at Brymak.com. They present the Brymak broadcast out here at St. Thomas Sports Park, or wherever we choose to do the Brymak broadcast. I just felt it was nice. I live right around the corner, so it was good to be able to get out and get some fresh air instead of, looking at the bright set lights that I have, although I could have probably done a little better with the lighting. Now that I look at myself, I'm a little backlit. But regardless, a beautiful day to talk about rounds 4 through 7 with you and the first 4 selections made. One word to describe this Titans 4-man draft class thus far. Underappreciated, says Justin M. Turner. Country Versey says mediocre. Dom Odell says, I feel like they're overthinking all of this. Just take the biggest needs. What's so hard about that? Well, Dom, here's where I think the disconnect is between Titans fans and what's happening on the Titans draft board. Now, John Robinson did say yesterday that they considered that they sought out a trade to move up, but they just weren't able to get high enough to where they thought they might be able to get whomever the player was that they were targeting. They did not disclose who it was that they were targeting. But it's not like they gave up, for lack of a better term. There are your needs. Your needs are many. And it's really not necessarily just wide receiver, because everybody's obsessed with wide receiver, right? Wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. So many wide receivers. Why do they consistently let all the wide receivers go? Look at the draft board. Look at best available. Look at the players who are still left out there. You can get plenty of wide receivers. If you go get Tylan Wallace today, now maybe many of you haven't discussed Tylan Wallace. Maybe you haven't selected him in your mock drafts, but it doesn't mean a damn thing if you haven't picked Tylan Wallace in your mock draft, because he's a damn good player out of Oklahoma State. If you make that pick today, I'm, at least from my perspective, as an objective media member, like if I'm a Titans fan, if I'm thinking through the prism of you guys, I would be completely satisfied with Tylan Wallace in the 4th round. And by the way, I wouldn't be shocked if they go wide receiver back-to-back in the 4th round today, considering that they have an additional 4th round selection. So the needs, they have addressed here's what I'll tell you, Dom. They've addressed your biggest needs. Your biggest needs were depth. Your biggest need more than anything. And I understand that wide receiver, outside of A.J. Brown, you are uncertain of. That's a totally fair diagnosis by everybody who would complain that way. And this is not a defense. I'm just looking at this the way that I have always looked at the Titans roster heading into this NFL draft. The biggest issue with the Titans defense last year, outside of top-level production, my one word is depth. Depth is the key. Your players, after your starters, and your starters weren't that great on defense last year. Outside of Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, I think that the defense left a lot to be desired. Malcolm Butler was a good player too. But outside of those three, where is the talent? Where is the overwhelming talent? You did not possess that. Outside of that, once some of those players dealt with injuries, once some of those guys missed some games, missed some snaps, everything fell the hell off a cliff, because the only spot at depth that I felt confident about last year with the Tennessee Titans was tackle, given how well Sam Sombrello and David Quessenberry played. And then after that, there really wasn't anything outside of Amani Hooker as the third safety. The depth on this team stunk out loud. And if they did not address that this year, it was going to suck again. It's the waterboard meme. We suck again. You're trying not to suck again on defense when inevitably some of your players get hurt throughout the course of a now 17-game regular season. So I understand that people are confused by Monty Rice, the inside linebacker out of Georgia. Consider this. You have Jayon Brown on a one-year deal, probably going to be super expensive once the finances course correct next NFL free agency. You have Rashaan Evans, who I don't anticipate that many of you want to keep around much longer, certainly not on a fifth-year option. David Long is not good enough to be a starter. I know a lot of you like David Long. I think David Long's fine if he's your third inside linebacker. David Long in a starting role is not something that I would desire over a 17-game NFL regular season. Inside linebacker was a need. You added two corners after you nuking your secondary. Janoris Jenkins now, Christian Fulton, Kevin Johnson, Caleb Farley, and now Elijah Molden. 5 competent players who rate very highly and will be able to provide competitive depth in your secondary. This is critical in a draft where the wide receivers, and by the way, Brevin Jordan, the tight end, is still on the board. Like, everybody's all bent out of shape about everything that's going on. Nobody else took Brevin Jordan. So to get all bent out of shape about tight end or wide receiver, I think is a bit silly at this point. We will see how the draft falls today. We will see if they are able to, like I said, Tylan Wallace makes a ton of sense for them. And that would, if they do miss out on competent wide receiver help today, because 4th round is about the lowest that you can go. Maybe you can find 1 or 2 guys in the 5th. And John Robinson has an affinity for the 5th round. Jayon Brown, Tajay Sharp, LaShawn Sims. He's found competent help in the 5th round. But at this point, you have to look at the wide receivers and say, okay, 4th round is the day to go out and get wide receiver help. My one word for the Tennessee Titans 4-man draft class through the first 3 rounds is depth, depth, and more depth. That was what is so critical for the Titans to be able to acquire yesterday and on Thursday. Let me know on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV how you feel about this. Jay Lynn says reach on Twitter/Periscope. He will be only pick that is validated, says Daryl, is Farley. And I would strongly disagree with that. I think Molden's a great player. He's going to end up being a great player. Torrey Coop isn't interested in Tylan Wallace. That's okay. Dylan Goodsill says that's 4 words. That's completely fair. Cody Holzier says Shi Smith is who I'm wanting now. He is very much out there. What you drinking after all this is over? You look stressed, man. Honestly, Dom, that's pretty funny. I'm going to have a no free ads, but I'm going to have a strong glass of Casa Dragonis tequila with a little bit of lime, maybe a bit of pomegranate juice too. Spice my life up a little bit. And just on the rocks, tequila, pomegranate, wedge of lime or lemon, frankly. I like lemon with my tequila too. And a lot of ice. That is what I'm going to be sipping on after the 7th round concludes today. But I'm having fun. That's how I know that I'm having a good time. Because if I'm not having a good time, if I'm not working, I'm not having a good time. And this makes me feel like football season all over again. That's why I enjoy being stressed. It sounds messed up, but I enjoy being stressed. Here live from St. Thomas Sports Park for this Brymac broadcast. Brymac.com, satisfaction guaranteed on each and every one of those HVAC needs. El Boogie 808 says Buck wants that drink stat. I mean, I would love to be able to sip on a cocktail while watching rounds 4 through 7, but I got players to interview. I got your coach and GM to have on a Zoom call later tonight, so we're going to hold off on that. Centel says, I dig your outlook on the draft, Buck. Buck luck, LOL. I mean, listen, I understand that sexy positions, wide receiver, tight end. You lost 2 important players to your offense. And I mean, here's what I'm going to say, okay? Come to terms now with the idea that your offense probably isn't going to score 30.1 points a game. In a perfect world, I think you don't want your offense to have to score 30 points a game for you to be able to be successful. Your defense is going to be relied on more heavily than it has been probably the last 2 years. Actually, I'll say the last year and a half, because for the 6-game stretch that Marcus Mariota was starting in 2019, the defense needed to perform at an incredibly high level. They were holding teams to about 20 points per game, and that's not sustainable. The defense is going to be critical this year. You guys know it. Mike Vrabel knows it. John Robinson knows it. And think about it this way. What did we spend all year, media, fans, what did we spend all year bitching at them about? All year bitching at them about the defense. So are we really going to get all butthurt when we bitch about it all year long and all into the offseason, and then all they do is completely give you a new defense? You're going to have projections right now at this point. We don't know who's going to end up starting and who's going to be the featured players on defense outside of the obvious, but you're going to have possibly as many as 6 new starters on the Titans defense. The Titans defense that you wanted overhauled. So I'm looking at this and saying, I mean, well, I wrote all about it. I gas-bagged all about it on A to Z, on the podcast, on the radio show. Spent all year bitching about the Titans defense. And so what do? They went and got you a new defense. Now you focus on the offense. You see what you can acquire at tight end, wide receiver. Maybe you find an edge player that can help, because I believe Ronnie Perkins is still out there, if I'm not mistaken, here on A to Z Sports live from the Titans practice facility at St. Thomas Sports Park, which is currently under construction. So nobody's actually in it. I'm just standing outside of it because I thought it would be a nice backdrop, and I wanted to be outside today. My office is nice, but it's nice to get out every once in a while and walk around. Bryce Thompson is a can't miss prospect, says Evan C. White. He gone to New England, says Schmoes. Okay, forgive me. I apologize. Forgot about Ronnie Perkins while we were doing the draft show. I was in and out of the Zooms yesterday, trying to make sure that I unmuted in time to be able to not get the eye. I don't know how many of you saw my tweet of Mike Vrabel just eye rolling the holy hell out of me because I couldn't figure out how to unmute my iPad on Thursday night. But so there are several players at the wide receiver position, and one specifically at the tight end position that I think make a lot of sense for you on day 3. Enjoy the rest of the draft. Here's what I'm going to say to you, okay? One word to describe. We've asked you one word to describe the 4-man draft class of the Titans so far. I'm going to give you one word to describe the approach that you should take for rounds 4 through 7 today. Namaste. It's going to be okay. You guys are going to get through it, and it's going to be okay. Everything is good. It's Aaron Rodgers, right? Before he tried to shoot his way out of Green Bay, it sounds like, reportedly. RELAX. Relax. I'm going to relax. I'm probably going to watch the draft outside today. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to go set up in my backyard on the patio. You guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Sunday night, A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll recap the whole damn thing. We'll have a great time doing it. And I'll talk to you then here on this Brymac broadcast, courtesy of Brymac Mechanical, BRYMAK